since Zach and I both have this background in education, we're going to be sharing a lot of this with Low Country Maritime School already in programs. So I have text messages on the phone saying, hey, when can you come talk to our class? When can you come make a presentation to the class? Last year, I was helping a group at a school up in Charleston get a boat ready that they were going to send out and just let it drift out into the ocean. With a sail, they have sensors. Yeah. So there's little pieces of plastic out in the ocean. And, but apparently it did really well. It ended up in England, and they did water temperature, wave height, wind, air temperature, and then track sort of just where it goes naturally with a small little sail that's pointing one direction. And that got the wheels turning as far as what we're doing. So as Zach said, we're going to be sharing that same data, but in a way that kids can interact with it. They can email us and ask us questions. We can do face-to-face video when we're on shore and we have Wi-Fi and so on. So we'll be able to do that. And it's a way that they can predict, for the students that I'm thinking of, they can predict where we're going, they can learn where we're going, and they can work as a class to talk about what they should expect to see when we get there. And then they have this real sort of, again, that real world experience where they get to know the two guys that just left. They just were in the classroom, and now they're going around the world. And so hopefully that gives also students a sense of, it's really a part of the greater mission, a sense of belonging in the world and understanding their place in the world, along with a lot of other cultures and so on. And I'm really excited to do question and answers after this, just because a lot of people want to, I want to talk about that more. So education, what's really great though is Low Country Maritime School now officially has taken on our program. They're going to be a fiscal sponsor of ours, so we can incorporate our whole journey into education and receive donations and work with a nonprofit to expand an educational program. So they'll be our fiscal sponsor, and we'll be able to work from there, which is another part of what we're doing, which is I think, what's our next slide? Is it?
It's
the biggest truth in the world? Yeah.
The send out there,
Last,
we think.
But 3 weeks ago, I was with my dad. We were taking J. Henry to Rockville. That was it. It was a 5-hour cruise in the Intercoastal Waterway. Next thing you know, the drive shaft shears off. That opened up a can of worms of problems that if it hadn't happened right there, we wouldn't know about, and it would have happened out in the ocean. So we're very, very, very lucky, and it was right next to a boatyard. But, several thousands of dollars later, 3 weeks of being homeless, a lot of other stuff going on, trying to figure out as we're both changing our jobs and doing all this. Definitely this is the truest thing in the world. Leaving has been the hardest thing that we've ever done. So having the Low Country Maritime School work with us as a fiscal sponsor, having all this other stuff go on, and then having the support of other people to help us make this possible is what we're totally, not totally relying on, but it's a big part of making this possible. We've been fortunate enough so far. I have all the numbers of money we've raised and things we've accomplished, but I'm not going to get into details, but if you have any questions, I have all of our numbers of what we've raised, what we need to raise, and how we think we're going to get there and how we hope we'll get there. But that is definitely the truest thing. And now we have these hurricanes coming in. God knows what else is wrong with the boat, but we're at this point we've basically turned up every stone there is, just about, and that's where we are. So it's a very real problem, and the reason we're trying to raise money and the reason we're trying to, the stuff that we need is very real. It's our life raft, which actually we have covered, but it's the safety equipment. It's a lot of safety equipment, materials for the boats. Tools to keep things running while we're offshore.
Safety at sea seminar. I mean, the list is truly endless. It does not end. We have a small portion of it if you want to take a look. But and not only that, but a big part of, like we mentioned before, is we want to engage with people. We want people to follow along, whether it be to live vicariously, to learn something, to help us out when we're homesick. Whatever it is, we want people to be in touch, following our journey. So there's a few ways to do that. I think that's the end of what we got. Tripp's got a few.
Yeah, and we have cards up here too. But no, what I want to do is hear questions and hear if anybody has any questions about what we're doing or why you're concerned. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're going to be customizing, kind of fitting the boat out to what you need, whether it's more gas tanks, no generator. Where are you doing all that work?
to be hauled out, we'll haul out at a boatyard, but most of the work we do ourselves.
Like while it's in the water?
While it's in the water, we'll do a lot of that
And
work
where will
ourselves.
that actually not here?
No, so we're fortunate enough, one of the board members of Low Country Maritime School has this, he's a great guy, and has this beautiful dock on Wamala Island, South Carolina, in Rockville.
Okay.
So we have a boathouse where you take all the gear off,
Wow.
we can plug into shore power, it's out in the country, so once we're out there, we're just working on things, and so we'll be out there.
Yourself? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
My first comment is I think there are a lot of people in the room that would like to be you.
Amen.
It's really remarkable. And I could ask these questions on the boat later, but I'm really fascinated about the boat.
Yeah.
And for example, is there a water maker on board?
There is not,
right
and that's part of that budget that we're trying to figure out right now.
And
There
so,
is not.
and do you have a generator?
We do, and we're wondering. We're talking about wind power and solar power, and then
Yeah, I know you'd like to use that, but
right.
you're taking a generator, right?
We have the generator.
Was that a question?
No, I also, and I'll do this later on the boat. I'm really fascinated about what you have spec'd out for all the electronics and the navigation equipment on board, because that's a whole list. It's also endless on what you could put on the boat, but you can't fit it. Number one.
Right. So actually, as far as numbers, we were fortunate. We had a matching fund early on. Well, not that long ago it feels like, but time's flying by. For $5,000 to match. So if we raised another $5,000, we got $10,000. We did that, and we have all new navigational electronics on the boat. There are a couple other things we want to add, but we have those. And just recently, we found out that we have another anonymous donor that wants to do a $10,000 match. So if we raise another 10 before we leave, then we get that 10, and we can get a lot of the other. That really I think we'll be hitting on the water maker, some of the other tools, and so on. So that's what we're really pushing right now, is trying to do that.
But you don't think a generator is cheating, do you?
No, we have it on board. This boat is funny just because it has things that we wouldn't put on it. It has air conditioning,
Right,
which is
right.
really, really nice right now. But when it breaks, we might not replace it. We might just take it out and have space. So.
Zach,
Yes.
you said that you were going to be collecting species along the way.
Oh, not actually collecting specimens, more just sightings and documenting what we're seeing, where we're seeing it. Yeah, no, we don't have room for that.
They'll all be in Zach's car.
Yeah.
This isn't dark.
No.
Question.
Did you approach Hinckley as a sponsor?
Yeah, so I was just talking to them about, I need to put together a proposal. I was talking to their marketing folks, and then a hurricane came, and then our boat's in the water. So next week I need to get back to them, and we need to put together a presentation for them. But they're interested.
I would think there'd be a good number of corporate entities that, for public relations for their own selves would get
Absolutely.
really like to issue.
And if you have any ideas, yeah. So if you want to be in charge of our sponsorship, then
Your new development VP. Congratulations.
Bobby, did you have a question right here? Yeah, right here.
This is kind of off subject, but I was wondering, it'll be about a year till you get to Sydney, right?
yeah.
So you'll have lots of experience. Would you be interested in speaking to, if it's school is in session?